Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it. Houston, welcome to another episode of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Welcome to tonight's live stream. We are happy to be here. Obviously, maybe not the result that we're expecting over the weekend for the Houston Dynamo. If you follow the Houston Dash, they're on a roll. So definitely, and you should be following the Houston Dash and give them support. But I am not alone today. I am joined by my favorite co-host. Don't tell Joey that, Christian. But what's up, Christian Putalias? Welcome to the show, man.
What's good? Good, man. Doing all good. Busy week for everybody with a lot of stormy weather. So I think it's fun times. Not so much fun in the results, but I think everybody had fun. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was a holiday weekend. Some people had a 3-day weekend. I wasn't one of the lucky ones to have a 3-day weekend. I'm sure you weren't one of the lucky ones to have a 3-day weekend.
I had not really. I had Sunday and Monday off, so I guess somewhere in there.
Oh, that's true. I did pass by HEV and it was close. Huh? It felt odd. I was like, "What's happening? Is Armageddon? You know, it's
who died?
The apocalypse. Something happened, and you never see the store close. I mean, even like Christmas and Thanksgiving, it's jam packed. Funny enough, when I used to work at a bakery, I remember I was there for like 3 years. The only day we had off was Good Friday. So like for a long time, I celebrated that. I mean, granted, I did the enjoy the holiday and that holiday weekend, but it was just more special because it's like, hey, we work like 24/7, and for Good Friday to be off, you take those, man. Good, take those. 100%. We have Edson of Show of Flex and said he had a 4-day weekend. So look at him flexing a 4-day weekend. And we got quite a lot of rain. As I named this episode here, Stormy Night, Stolen Result. But I mean, it was a rainy day in general, man, that Saturday. But much needed. We haven't talked, obviously, in what, a week, Christian, I guess. Yep. We are waiting for one more guest to join us. The young Juan Pereira should be making his, I wouldn't say his debut, but he'd be up here joining us in a little bit to kind of talk soccer as well. Jeff, welcome.
Bienvenidos.
Anything you want to add? Sorry. I'm trying to like read it and talk, and I don't know why. But
no, you're good.
I think my allergies are acting up. I don't know about you guys. Do you suffer from allergies? I never really did, and now that I'm getting older, my eye is literally this left eye. Like I feel it irritating, and then like I'll look at my wife, and she's like, "What the hell is wrong with your eye? It's red." I was like, I have no clue. It's not me just itching it like for 5 hours straight and making it worse, probably, man.
Yeah, that doesn't help. No, I get usually my throat, like I get, like, I don't know if my voice feels deeper today than it usually does, but I get like my throat just kind of hurts. Like I had this cough, like this weird cough. Like I don't have a lot. Well, you guys, you're probably gonna see me throughout the night, like trying to clear my throat. I don't know if y'all, last week I was the same thing, and it's just like a little bit of phlegm, but it's nothing. I don't know. It's weird because like sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, but it just depends. But I mean, when you have a week where it's hot, cold, you're like, your body just doesn't get used to it, and you're like, dang, like there's so much stuff going on. Like,
were you talking about the Houston Dynamo? Hot, cold.
I mean,
that's kind of
that's what it feels like.
That's kind of where we're going, man. But
it's crazy though, because like going into the results, like they still haven't gotten like blown out, right? Not that I can remember. Like they've been in every game. I think, right? Yeah. They're all ended like at least one goal. Other than the LAFC game.
Yeah, 2-0, right? Exactly. Yeah, basically.
I might be wrong, but I think that's
you're right. You're absolutely right. No. They tend to, when they've lost by like single digit basically, and that's more than enough. But you know what? Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Obviously, the Bayou Banter is in here and popping again. Jeff, welcome. Foodie, how do you say this? Anybody? He said let's get to it, man.
For the bag.
I like his logo. You have a cool logo, man.
Who are you for the bag?
Does Ben have anything in his playbook? We are gonna get to talk about this because, man, I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts. But all right, before we get into the game, let me go ahead and put I spent time making the slides, so we're gonna use them, right, 100%. Christian? Whenever you take time to do it, make it nice. But let's go ahead and get started to what is, for me, one of my favorite tournaments. That is the U.S. Open Cup. Houston Dynamo have won the U.S. Open Cup twice. They're the only, Christian, hear this out. They're the only Texas team who's undefeated in this cup. I think, actually, I don't know. I just made it up because Austin lost last year, and I just wanted somebody
we lost too. The Dynamo lost against what was it?
What are you talking about? They're no. Like the final. I'm talking about the final.
Oh, final. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you count like no. I'm talking about undefeated on finals. But I kind of want to say, Jeff probably knows this, but I know FC Dallas has won it a couple times. I'm sure they've lost it a couple times. That's my hope. So we'll just claim it that Houston is undefeated in finals, right?
Name it and claim it.
We're going to claim it. But the draw happened. When did it happen? I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday. I can't even remember. But it was early in the morning. It was a really long show if you guys watched the draw. It's gotten a little better this time. They streamed it on CBS, Golazo Network. So they made it a little bit more interesting. We being Dustin and myself, when we looked at it, we're like, it looks like it can be between El Paso and who's the other one? Louisville.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. Yes, it was. It was Louisville, and that's who we expected. But whenever they did it, they had already like El Paso was already slotted for the Houston Dynamo. It was just a matter to figure out where exactly, the home and away aspect of it. Obviously, Houston would be hosting El Paso, and if they win, the next key would be the winner of Austin and Louisville. So
that'll be fun.
It'd be interesting, yeah, for sure. I do see that Juan is waiting for us to get in. I'm sure he's stoked to talk U.S. Open Cup. If not, get ready for it. But what's up, Juan? How are you?
I'm doing great. Can y'all hear me all right?
We hear you all right, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I was running some errands, so I was running a little late, but thank you for letting me hop in a little later.
Yeah. No, Memo is not with El Paso. He's actually with Sacramento. So Sacramento is still in the well, no, they're still in the tournament. So I don't know what would be the how long it would take for them to like face each other if that would happen. But that'd be cool. Also, I think Jay, you mentioned that you went to the OC match, which has Silla and Marcelo Palomino both in that club as well. And there's been a couple other Dynamo legends in quotation that have gone through that club as well. So anyways, Christian, I know you're like me. You like this elimination matches.
Yes.
Tell us, how excited are you about just this tournament starting up for the Dynamo and going against the locomotive here?
Well, just to begin, El Paso's crest is pretty nice. I like the outline of the shape. It's just such a random shape. I don't think you ever see that in soccer. A lot is usually like very soccer cresty, like the typical shapes. But this one is different. So I like that. I like how they implemented the little locomotive stuff. But going into the tournament itself, I mean, it is another opportunity for the Dynamo to kind of say, like, this just in case if you don't win the MLS Cup, it's just another opportunity to not only say you won something, but also to get into the Champions League. So, I mean, it's the easiest route to get to it. So why not take advantage of it. I know a lot of people or a lot of coaches don't put a lot of interest in it in the first few games that they have, because they do go, against lower level teams in a sense, without being disrespectful. But that's just kind of how they take it, and then they start putting their starters in like towards the final games, the final 3 games or 4 games, I would say. I guess round of 32 is what, a 5th game, 5 away from a final, or like 4 away from final. So it's one of those games that they're still probably gonna, I don't know. I don't know. We would have to see the brain of Ben Olsen and see what he wants to do, or to see if Pat Onstad and Asher tell him something. I don't know how the dynamics of that relationship works. It's kind of weird in a sense. Sometimes I don't understand it, where the information comes from, or where, I don't know. I'm very old school. This is me going in another tangent, but I'm very old school.
Just a slight one. Cubstead here.
Damn, don't say that. But yeah,
no,
I won't go on a tangent, but yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a very good matchup. But it's rare that these teams go against each other. I think for a while, I remember before, Austin FC was a thing. The Dynamo seemed to always go against Austin Bold. So shout out to a non-existent team.
R.I.P.
Yeah. And then I saw Rushan also talked about the Lokomotiv Moscow logo. Brother, I remember playing with that team in FIFA, and I was like, yeah, I mean, they're the Lokomotiv too. Dude, I literally just went and looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, it actually has a train. And I played with this team, and I never noticed that it was a train in the A. So I feel so oblivious. So yeah, good shout.
Lokomotiv.
But no, I don't know. I don't feel that it's going to be an upset. I do feel that they are a good team. I think they're, they got paired to a very good team when it comes to El Paso. They're a strong team now. It's nice. It has I had never realized that green thing was a freaking train till right now that I looked again. So thank you for that. Yeah, so Juan, this type of matchups, I think they're exciting, they're important. But one thing that I may not feel the same as Christian is the fact that for the most part, we've seen Ben Olsen, play his starters, or at least starting lineups with a good amount. But we don't have to break it down. This is still next week, right? I know that graphic didn't show the day, but if you're in Houston, the matchup is going to take place April 15, 7, I believe it's 7 p.m. kickoff time. Sadly, not a lot of people tend to go to those. Those are so fun. I do my best to try to go, and I'll try to go this for this Wednesday. It's difficult for me on Wednesdays now, but I just a little bit on that you may add, Juan, to this upcoming matchup.
I mean, 2023 was a great year. I mean, and just because of that U.S. Open Cup. I mean, whenever I think back on that year, that's what defined it. And I feel like whenever you're in these competitions, they always have the opportunity to define a season. I mean, but then I think back on 2024 and kind of what happened then with the title defense, and I say that in heavy quotations. So, I mean, Lokomotiv are a good team in USL. Their old coach used to be Juan Pereira. They can bring in some talents, right? But, I mean, I'm expecting rotation. I'm not expecting an upset. But, I mean, I wouldn't be lying if in the back of my mind that 2024 moment, kind of makes a return, like in a flashback sort of way. So, I mean, there's not a lot we can take away from either of these teams so far just because early season. But you always got to pay attention to the USL teams because they can produce some magic.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to see. But
they are undefeated so far.
They are.
So, yeah. So they're a good team for sure. And as Edson said, if this is a upset to come, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising.
And their last game in the U.S. Open Cup was against New Mexico, who won the USL Championship last year, I think, and they beat them 4-0 at New Mexico. So
yeah.
And it's also interesting point to, they're not that far from each other, but it's still New Mexico especially in the United States, like being having that home field advantage, I think it's a lot. If you feel it bigger because there's not a lot of away fans, just because of the distances. So going to New Mexico and beating them 4-0, I think it speaks a lot of who Locomotive is.
Yeah. And again, it's a measuring stick, right? I think that this weekend, and we'll go move into that. I know Jay wants us to be positive. There will be positive talk, but I mean, we do have to talk a lot of what we saw. Houston Dynamo can't seem to beat Seattle Sounders. I mean, we looked it up last week. It's been since October of 2021 when Houston Dynamo beat Seattle Sounders in Houston. So this matchup, I will disagree with a lot of people online and on social media that just said this was a bad game, that the Dynamo were just awful. I think this was a really good game, and the statistics say that, but I'll go a little bit deeper into that. Obviously, we knew that there was going to be changes. Starting lineup, in goal, you had Jonathan Bond, who did a really good save, and we'll go through the highlights with that. In the first half, Felipe Andrade, Antonio Carlos back on the center back, and Negri made his start. You can tell he's limited in minutes, probably trying to get his form back. Obviously, he wasn't in the team sheet a few matches back, so maybe dealing again with either just fitness or some kind of tweak, an injury. So those were your center backs, and Nali playing as a wing back. Same thing with Dwayne Holmes, Agustin Bosat next to Chache Simameko, which both of them, I don't know. I think when we get to talking about like who kind of let me down, I think it's going to be one of those guys in my perspective. And then up front, we already got to see them play quite a lot, but you have Guillermo, Matthew Bogush, and Ezequiel Ponce, Christian. Were you happy with the starting lineup, guys? Like, what was your first thought, or what would you have done different from what was available, of course?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there was not a lot of options left. So it was just kind of, he kind of had to go with what he had, at hand. I think, believe it or not, it's funny that they're still dealing with somewhat of a like a depth issue, right? Like it's just. It's been 5 games and 5 different starting lineups. I think, if I'm not mistaken, might be wrong.
And I think the big thing, and obviously the starting lineup kind of gave it away, and we found out the day of, or maybe on Friday, was that Jack McGlynn was questionable, right, with some kind of lower body injury, as they tell us. So it could be anything, right? He could have a sore toe to a dislocated knee at this point. You don't know because it's just so generic. But you hope that is a sore toe.
Ingrown toenail.
Right. But obviously, like, not having him, and we know that how vital he's been, right? He's the guy that asks for the ball. He's the guy with the ball, and he goes all the way to the center backs to get it, and he's the one kind of pushing forward. So at the end of the day, that was going to be a big, missing piece. And from the starting lineup, maybe the only things that I saw, I really was thinking maybe Resch was going to get a start for Negri, or instead of Negri. But when we talked to Ben Olsen, it just seemed like Resch wasn't in the plans of being a starter, from what we could kind of decipher in his rubric. And then the Bosat and Chache was interesting. Juan, what did you see from that? I mean, it wasn't bad, but they had never really played, together. Obviously, this is the first time that they were together.
Yeah.
What did you gain? What did you lose, man, with those two guys in the midfield?
I don't know. I just felt like them and Tangent didn't really work. I don't feel like either one of them really wanted to take control of that game. And I feel like that's something, even with when you look at Hector Herrera or McGlynn, like they just try to do something to control the pace of play, even if they fail. I feel like the Dynamo didn't even attempt to. And I mean, when looking at the stats here on SofaScore, the possession is close, but 45% possession at home isn't really the best, especially for a team that, just 2 years ago, you were thinking like that one of the best possession teams in the league. I mean, even then with less possession, you only created one big chance according to SofaScore. So again, I feel like they never really wanted to take the opportunity.
I'm not going to cut anybody off in that sense. Keep talking, but I am going to play the highlights in the background. So, if anything comes to mind, feel free to add it, guys.
I know sometimes they say like, soccer is so universal that you don't really need to like be able to communicate with the guy you're playing with, like, vocally. But I wonder, how much does that come into play when you have a player like Chache and a player like Busat? Busat doesn't speak English probably at all, and Chache, obviously he's probably speaking. I'm sure.
A very good play, by the way. This is the save that I was talking about.
That was
really good save. Really good save by Jonathan Bond.
And to me, Negri also had a great half, I guess. He only played half.
Yeah,
he looks very comfortable.
And to what you're saying, I felt that this team, while surprising on playing those two guys together, just because they haven't played and they're not really guys that tend to handle the ball, like you mentioned, whether it be Jack McLean or Hector Herrera. I think like the team was still set up really well.
I agree.
Yeah, and they were both dangerous, especially in the first half. Obviously, like playmakers like Guillermo and Bosad, they both had opportunities at getting on goal and getting those shots. But it just they couldn't finish. It was the story of the game for both teams, really. The little that they had. This one was another one that I know, Christian, you were probably about to yell, goal or shout it out.
It was close. It was close. And also going back to Chache and Bosad, like they both kind of play the same style. Like they're both defensive mids. None of them are attacking mid. So like it's kind of hard, like Juan was saying, if you don't have McGlynn or Herrera, which have a little bit more of an attacking, instinct to them, it's kind of hard because both of those guys are in their heart, they want to stay back and let the other guy go. And it seems like that also comes into play when you have two guys that want to do the same thing, and they're asked to do the same thing day by day. And now it's like, well, okay, how are we deciding who goes, who stays? Here he's taking shots from outside the box, but that's about the extent you're gonna get, in an offensive.
Yes. I had. This is a good point. I'm gonna stop the replay here because I like this comment because you don't see it that often. From Rook saying, "Don't forget, Seattle has been playing together for 15 years, and I'm just made this team less than 6 months ago," and that's vital because you do want to win every single game at home. It should never be an excuse of who you're playing, but the team played well, and it's they played toe to toe with one of the best teams in consistently for 10, 15 years since Schmetzer been in charge, and even before that, but the way that the team is being set up by the Dynamo is good, and there's some people that still need to click in my perspective for sure, but then there's some things that you see a lot of the players doing what needs to be done, and then some of the ones that you expect more, maybe a DP named Ezequiel Ponce, right? That yes, he hasn't scored, and people are gonna, he's not playing well, he's not playing well. Wow. I'm so good with my words today. But it's the fact that, he was still out there, holding control of the ball, setting up players, opening the play. But because of how far sometimes he found himself, I feel like he was late to a lot of opportunities. And I know the highlights didn't show one of the opportunities in front of goal that Inali, dribbled everybody on the wing.
Yeah.
Crosses it, a really hard cross into the box that was full of Seattle players, and it hits Ponce, but it was such a strong cross from Inali that obviously goes behind him, and that's when Bogusz takes a shot and gets deflected by a defender. So it's like, as much as they were trying to crash into the box, Seattle was right there. Seattle had put 6-8 players in the box, so they were just making it difficult to get shots, and I think that's part of the game, and that was the type of matchup, this chess game that was being played the entire night. And obviously, whether you want to talk about the rain being an issue or not, I don't really think it mattered. I think it probably maybe leveled the playing field to an extent, but it wasn't a true issue, of course, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, Seattle is one of the best defensive teams in the league so far. So I mean, that also comes into play, right? Like they're good for a reason. They won for a reason because they kept their goal at 0, and like you can see defending well. Look, there's 5 guys, only one attacking. If it wasn't, and then most of the like very good chances that Dynamo had were either a dead ball of some sort or an individual play. It wasn't like a collective, team play, because Seattle was well equipped to kind of shut it down before anything started in a way.
Yeah.
And then another thing that was pointed out by the commentator in the beginning was how Guilherme, he on the last game against Dallas, he played on the right mostly, and then on this game he played on the left to kind of connect with Denali, and you saw that great partnership between both of them because both of them are dangerous, and then if you have Guilherme who can put through balls for Denali to make runs, I mean that just brings into a whole nother level. So I think that partnership will continue to flourish. And once they get more balls like that, like Denali checking in the back, or this time it was Bogusz, I think you're going to see a lot of breaking lines and just kind of at least playing it behind the back of those defensive players on that side.
And that was it. This last episode when Victor Ariza joined us, I feel like we were talking a lot and praising the way that Seattle has built, this football club and the way that they approach, whether it be just on the field, off the field, the culture, like everything. And we were very high on Paul Rothrock, who has become a Dynamo killer at this point. It seems like the kid scores against Houston, and he did it even when he was with Defiance. I remember a few years back, scoring braces and hat tricks against D2. And so, this guy, like many of the youngsters, well, at this point he's 27, but a lot of the homegrowns, I would say, that come out of Seattle, they just have a knack in general to just to those close games. They don't stop. And unfortunately for the Dynamo and here, and I can go back a little bit, I think they show the replay again, but they had just subbed in Linger, who you see instead of Dwayne Holmes, who he wasn't amazing, but he was serviceable. Obviously, he was definitely gassed by the time that he was taken out. But here you can see that because of that substitution, and I know I'm moving my mouse and you guys can't see it, but it's perfect example of the way that you see Paul Rothrock wide open, and Linger's gonna track the guy closest to him without really checking that his man in reality was Rothrock that he should have been closer to. He's wide open, and you just need. I mean, it wasn't the cleanest of finishes, but you know what? You just needed to go in the back of the net, and that changes the game, guys.
Yep, 100%. I mean, that's kind of how. I mean, that's the part where it suffers. Having those 3 center backs and that one, wing back. The center backs are always going to go tuck in because they know that they're going to have somebody, to kind of cover those spaces behind them. But whenever you have a guy that is known for playing the 8-9, a false 9, or an attacking player, he's not going to check back every single time when you put him as a wing back. Like Lingard is not a defensive guy. So for him to be expected to come back and do those runs and cover, Rothrock whenever he's attacking on the second post by himself, well, then, you're risking that, especially when they put him in so he can attack to give, Holmes was kind of defending more. He wasn't really going into the attack. So you bring him in to kind of go forward and attack. So you're obviously going to leave that, back, but it's just kind of weird because, they play that back of line of 3 or 5, however you want to call it. And then, it just kind of changes the dynamics of how center backs play as well. So it's one of those things like, you can't have both in a sense. I don't know. It's weird. That's why I don't like the formation. And then also, I don't know if you guys heard it. I watched the game originally in Spanish. The second half I watched the game today again in English. Yeah. And the commentator was saying how one of the things that Ben Olsen said to them was that this year he was playing that back 3 or back 5, however you want to say it.
Right.
Because of the players that he had. Right. And basically what I've been saying all season was that the reason he's playing that is because he has to accommodate so many names in the attacking portion that he basically, gave one defender away. So now he's defending with 3 with the wing backs kind of going into the attack. Because I mean, if you saw Nolly and if you see Holmes, like even though that kind of shape shifts into a back 4 in a sense when one of them attacks, it's still not a true back 4. So it's kind of weird because you expect both of those guys to kind of go up and down, and it's weird. But I mean, it like we said, that's one of the things that you kind of have to sacrifice, which is whenever you're defending, you kind of have to count on those guys to come back. But if they're not close enough, then you're gonna suffer those things like what happened in that goal.
Yeah, and just to add, I see Jay Hurtado ask about which forwards had the most shots. It was Bogusz. He had 4 total shots. Only 1 actually went towards goal. 1 was wide, and 2. The other 2 that to me were clear opportunities were actually deflected by a defender by just having a body out there in front of the ball. But it's you see the amount, and I'll put here the stats, and I know there's more sophisticated stats that JP can pull out as well from soft score. But yeah, I mean, possession wise, it was, I mean, for you mentioned it earlier, JP, how this team is not the same when it comes to possession, specifically with the likes of an Hector Herrera type of player. Obviously, we know the limitations that Herrera has now, but 2 years ago, this was a different beast when it came to that. And the guy that is meant to have that possession is Jack McGlynn. So obviously, him not being in this match and being replaced by Agustin Bosad and Shache was, you knew that it was going to be more of a shield aspect of it, right? It was going to be guys that were going to try to eliminate the opponent's threat, and they did for quite a good amount of time. My biggest takeaway, and I think Bosad is one of the best players, and he could easily, become an MVP type of player for the Dynamo. But he was definitely stretched. I think Seattle did a good job of making him be the guy that had to chase the ball, but they toyed with him quite a lot. As soon as he was close, they would just hit that over him. They didn't even let him run. And Shache did a good job of staying more, in the defensive block. But total shots, Dynamo were, double the amount, 13 shots to 6 for Seattle, 3 shots on target for Dynamo, 2 for Seattle, 1 big chance for the Dynamo, 3 for Seattle, 1 big chance miss, 1 for the Dynamo and 2 for Seattle. And it wasn't really a chippy game. Like, I thought it was going to get a little worse because of, whether it be the rain, and there was a silly foul, really lazy foul by Felipe, which it was a lazy foul, but it wasn't a yellow card, and they pulled a yellow card pretty early on. And, but that didn't really change his game. But we'll go right into the standout and letdown. Christian, if you already have a standout or letdown, feel free. Juan, whoever wants to go, if you just have the standout to start, that's fine too, man.
Can I let my letdown be the coach?
Yes.
Can that be it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And here's the thing that really, honestly, it irritated me about this game, and it did. It was, and y'all touched on it, it was putting in Linger in that wingback role. Whenever he came in, the expectation was, that 10, the DP 10, cool, whatever. You bring in someone else, Bogusz, DP 10, okay, whatever. Like, Linger will be on the bench, that's fine. To deploy him at a wingback role that we've barely seen him play out of, when you have someone like Ali, who I know that maybe y'all don't particularly like or dislike, but you can't deny has played more minutes at wingback.
Mm-hmm.
And you choose Linger in a situation where, I'll be honest, Houston, despite their errors in this game, they were doing pretty well, I'll be honest. And I thought that they were defensively pretty sound for this entire game and were generating opportunities. So why put in someone who will maybe make you a little better offensively, but maybe not by a big margin, but then doesn't have those game reps in this late situation on the defensive side? I feel like Ali would have tracked back. I think that's the reason why Houston didn't get the 3 points. And it's really frustrating because I feel like you had it. Unlike other places on the field where you might say, oh, I don't have a better option. You had an option right there at right wing back or left wing back or whatever you want that could have gone in and done the deed. So that was, I guess that's my letdown, Ben Olsen and that sub.
That's a great observation, bro. Like that's what what I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say it. But I think you said it perfectly. I mean, is that you and also like if you really want to win this game, like why would you take that? Like why would you play on that side where Rothko was at? Like you could have gone the other way. I mean, he ended up kind of doing that later on when he brought in Vines and he went like a back four and he kind of pushed everybody up. But by that time, it was like 30 seconds left on the clock. So it's like, and I don't know. It was weird, but I think that was a great observation. And I think it was a miss from Ben Olsen to do that, to kind of let go of the defensive game that they were playing and then just kind of throw and then put in Linger in as a wing back. What is he going to give you? A cross, like one or two? Like he's not going to do you any work as a wing back. If anything, he'll do more work where Bogusz is playing, like more in the middle, just kind of being annoying, finding a rebound or doing something like that. So I think
where he plays naturally.
Exactly, that's a great observation.
And look, hindsight's 2020. Like, obviously, if he ended up scoring, we would have all been applauding the great tactical mind of Ben Olsen. But it just
that's how it goes.
And I mean, in that situation, I wouldn't have made that substitution. 10 times out of 10, I would have made a different one. Or if you put in Linger, you put him up a little higher. It's that simple.
And also, let me give you my lay down too. Bogusz, I think, has been. A lot of people, I guess we could say that, he has to, accommodate and this and that. But I mean, the guy has already played in this league before. He did play with one of the best teams in the league. So that kind of changes things, right? Like if you have good players around you, it makes you better as well. I don't think this is a terrible team, and he does have great players around him. So it's one of those things that we expected more. I think we expect also more of Ponce, especially giving this is something we mentioned during the week, but when you look at his salary, and I know sometimes those numbers don't have anything to do, right? But when you have when they say more responsibility is expected, or more things are expected with the people that have more responsibility type thing, and I think that's to who more is given, more is expected, and I think that is what Ponce is, right? I mean, he's the best paid player in the Houston Dynamo, and he other than your defensive contributions, he hasn't contributed much in a sense. And I think Bogusz it's also on that same train. And I think we saw how Guilherme heavy this team is. Yeah. If Guilherme is not having a good night, and he didn't have a terrible night. I mean, he had some chances. He had some great passes. He created some chances. He left players kind of one-on-one with the defense. But if he's not around, like you kind of lose all the spark when it comes to creation. And Bogusz, for some reason, he's lost in the mix and the translation of things, and that's my letdown. But yeah, that also kind of shows, like I'm saying, how heavy the team relies on the Brazilian itself.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I would say I think for me, like at least Bogusz. I mean, I know we're talking about this game, but I do feel like he did add a little more in these last few games. Whereas I think Ponce for me would be a little bit more of a letdown because I don't think he hasn't scored yet, right?
Nope.
Your DP striker hasn't scored yet.
I
feel like
who is
Ponce?
Ponce hasn't scored yet.
No.
And I feel like that for me is really disappointing because I mean he's your DP striker. I feel like Bogusz had his moment earlier, right? This season already. I mean, time's just flying by. Ponce at best was a decent contributor in the games that the Houston won, but has been one of the key faults in the games that they have let slip away. And that's just not good enough for me for a DP striker, especially when, like you said, you pay that much for him and you expect better things from him. But I think, again, you were spot on with that.
Who's your standout, Rudy?
No, as far as the first standout, I mean, I think maybe Jonathan Bond, just because he had a couple of saves that were important. But yeah, going to the guy being the letdown. I mean, player wise, I think they all did what they needed to do. But I agree. Even on my ratings, I think it's difficult to be very critical of the coach. And when it comes to Ben Olsen, because I feel that for the most part he gets what needs to happen soon enough. but I mean, you guys, obviously all of us were in our Discord, right? Talking with the Bayou City crowd, and I told you guys, I was like, I've seen this movie before. Like, I felt that the subs weren't coming in time. There is Seattle, right before the goal, did 3 or 4 subs, knowing like, hey, I need to make a tweak. Then you do see Lingard come in, and then the goal happens, but I told you guys, it feels like there's going to be a let go, and it's going to be very, it not proactive. It was a lot of, reaction based to that goal being scored. And what throws it off to me is, you bring in Resh at halftime for Negri, and then you still sub him out. And I know it was towards the end of the game and you want to do something different, but then that right there is already, you could use his height, throw him up top, change your tactics a little bit, let him be the guy that can just go out there and trying to win a ball in the air and close to goal. Or just go with, if you were maybe thinking already of changing the formation, you could have. And because I feel like Sam Bynes it's a guy that tends to be much better as a left back more than even a center back. And again, you're losing that height advantage too. And Resh has shown that he's an agile guy. So I don't understand some of that. And yeah, I'm with you guys. It's very questionable in some of the tactics when it comes to the subs and just the timing of the substitutions altogether.
Yeah. Another guy that I like personally, I think he's getting better as the season goes by. And I don't know if a lot of people see it, a lot of people don't. But I think Anali is growing in that role. I think, he started as a straight up, left wing guy, and now he's obviously being pushed back a little bit more. But I think as time goes on, you see him, especially connecting with Guilherme, like he's getting more comfortable at what he's doing, and he's getting better at attacking. Obviously, he still has to tweak some things. His last touch, that final touch, is still kind of off. Even his crosses are a little off sometimes. But I think if he just kind of continues on, he'll get more dangerous. I think what he's good at is making that run behind the defender and having somebody feed him. But if he is just that, then he becomes just a one-trick pony. So if he can just get better at crossing, or and going down to the line and then putting the ball back into the middle of the box, just kind of working on those left back qualities that he may lack right now. He already has everything he needs to be a good, left wing attacker. If he can just be a left wing, like a left back attacker, then I think he'll be a lot better. But to me, he was also one of the guys that I really liked. And the hustle that he goes forward as much as he comes back, and he's the guy that probably runs the most just because of his, he's in every attack and he tries to be in every defense. He's not the greatest defender, but he at least tries to bother you with his speed. And sometimes his speed just gets the ball back by itself, basically.
Yeah. So. And I agree with you, Chris. And I feel like one thing you said there that really stood out to me was the Guilherme connection. We're not going to go really in deep with the tactics, but whenever you look at Guilherme, who can operate both as that out and out winger and also kind of that half space guy who can kind of create sort of centrally, it gives Anali a lot of room to kind of explore and kind of showcase his ability. Which I felt like last year, like in previous years with Ben Olsen, that left wing role was one of the more stationary ones. Before that, it was Ali kind of being there, like the stationary guy out wide. Yeah. Now I feel like you have two creative playmakers on that left wing, and it offers you something different.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's something that I hope they keep experimenting with. And like you said, Anali isn't the best defender, but with a left wing back, if they can give you 110% every game, that's sometimes more than good enough.
And it feels like, I remember with Ali, a lot of the play kind of went through the right with Dorsey, kind of going into the attack, and whoever was playing in there on that side, kind of helping him out, McGlynn or whoever it may be. Also, McGlynn, he wasn't even missed, in my opinion. I'm sure he could have done some great things with dead balls, but honestly, McGlynn at this point is playing so far back, like he wasn't even nobody. I don't think anybody asked where McGlynn was, in my opinion. I might be wrong, but. But it's funny how basically the whole team kind of switched to the left side now, So now all the balls kind of go through Anali and Guilherme, and it just kind of like it went from right to left. And so it'll be cool to kind of see if they can do something. Obviously, Holmes was more on the defensive side today or this past game because, Rathko, whatever his name is, Rathrock or whatever.
Yeah.
But obviously, whenever you have somebody that you have to defend, it just kind of makes it a one-sided game and like playing on one side of the field. But if he could go forward a little bit more, if you had a guy that could also give you an attack on the right side or even just a right winger, I don't think there was much that this game. I don't know who was playing on the right this game, but there was not a lot on that right side of the field. Like it was just kind of everything going through the middle or through the left, and that was just kind of it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I think maybe that's where you do miss McGlynn. And I know you said nobody really paid attention, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And to some extent, I would agree, just because whenever you don't have McGlynn, the play style itself changes to the point where you don't really see that role for him. But I do feel like whenever you do have him, those pinged crosses from that right half space, even if it is a little deeper, they do make a difference and they do make an impact. So I feel like that was kind of a miss in that way.
Yeah, and I think
that's a good quality, I guess.
Just to add about Anali, yes, he's doing a good job stretching the game and dribbling. His dribbling has gotten a little better the last few matches. It's just that final, connection. I think that's what's really missing. And again, it goes to, Ponce. We know the striker he can be, and then he still seems to not get enough, of those crosses and those connections. And if he kept getting 3-4 opportunities and missing all of them, that he needs to be benched. But you're not even getting to that aspect because it seems like he's making those connections so far back, and Nali and Bogusz and Guillermo are so much faster. Then if you guys go back and watch that game, a lot of times there's nobody. They're all the way to the line and there's nobody there in the middle. But anyways, so lost to the Houston Dynamo. Unfortunate for them. They can't continue to make Shell Energy Stadium a fortress. There's still plenty of games left for sure. Yes, Christian.
No, I'm sorry. Just to kind of finish up on Ponce, if you look at his heat map and if you look at his touches inside the box, he only had 2 touches inside the box.
Oh, yep.
Like one in each half. Like if you divide it like that, right? Or there could have been just 2 touches in the same half. But that just kind of, it goes to show you that his service is not there, because if you have your number 9 not touching the ball inside the box, is because the ball's not getting there. So that's where you have to like kind of think, okay, so yeah, he might, quote unquote suck because he's not, putting up numbers on the, on the sheet, or an assist or goals or whatever it may be. But also you kind of have to think around and be like, all right, why isn't he's touching the ball twice in 90 minutes inside of the box? And probably I could assure you that those 2 touches were going backwards instead of forward, probably. Or maybe that one shot that he had. But if you look at his heat map, like, they're all around that center circle. Like he's far away.
And one thing that whenever we were able to talk to Pat Onstad, when he's mentioned it, Ben Olsen's mentioned it, about kind of like the Ponce's, it's on the hot seat currently, right? Because of what he's not really providing, which is goals and assists that you want from your DP. But just to finish off, what Pat said, the last thing we want is for Ponce to like grab the ball and carry it. That's not his playing style, and he did it quite a few times, against Seattle. So that's a lot of the desperation that we're seeing from the Argentine striker. But let's go ahead and we're already almost 50 minutes in, and we still have quite a lot of show left. So we're gonna honestly kind of fly through this later half. But the team is gonna go against the Colorado Rapids this Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff. I mentioned is it going to be a bounce back or make it 3 straight losses for the Dynamo? Colorado is not in the best of shapes. In total, they're still I think they're actually above the Dynamo. I should have looked that one up. Anyways, they lost against New York City FC 3-1 in New York. They beat Sporting Kansas City, but who doesn't beat the Sporting Kansas City this year? And then they played like a wild game against Toronto. They ended up losing 3-2. If you guys haven't, go watch a really bad highlight of Zach Steffen, just big time blooper that ends in a goal. I don't know which goal that was, if it was the winning goal, but no, I don't think it was, because the guy that scored the winner was the U.S. national team guy that they just brought in. And here's the starting lineup. So one thing of note, they got 2 red cards against Toronto, so there'll be 2 starters down. Navarro, we know it's a good player, and yeah, Sexteffen scored a nice little own goal. But I mean, Colorado, Houston has been, found some favor playing in Colorado. So I mean, who isn't to say that the Dynamo to get points, and they tend to be a very good team on the road. Juan, anything you want to mention about Colorado, maybe that you may have insight or just in general, man?
I mean, they used to have Bassett, right, and he's gone. I feel like having Aronson there is a really big add for them. But
they used to got Sam Bynes, and he's so weird.
Oh yeah, and now he's here. So a Vines revenge game, I think we're calling that now. But I mean, Colorado is one of those teams that they can always, be a little feisty, little thorn in your side. But I feel like they never really take that next step into like the league's finest. So, and with the 2 red cards, they have a case of the Dynamo. So I just saw the comment that they put on there. That's pretty funny. But I don't know. I think Colorado will be a tough test. But with 2 red cards to 2 of their starters, I feel like this could be a nice opportunity for Ben to say, okay, let's get back on the ship. And because I feel like the playing itself from the Dynamo hasn't been really bad. But I feel like some of those outside circumstances, I feel like now those can kind of be put back. Hopefully McGlynn's healthy for them and just say bounce back and get the team that got 2 red cards.
It's a must. I think it's a must. You have to bounce back. The team is playing well, but you have to take advantage of the few opportunities that you have in goal. And this is not new. This is not something that, they didn't know. That's something that, pre-game they talked about Seattle. And obviously going into this match is very, very similar. Christian, do you have any divination that you may add? And I will say, I think I'm going to go with a draw. I'm not going to give a scoreline, but I feel that a point, the Dynamo will get a point out of this matchup.
Yeah. Colorado hasn't lost at home yet. I think that's a stat that has to be mentioned.
All wins.
All at home and just that one away. They scored like 13 goals, I think, in the last 5 games. So they are a team that scores goals. But I think also they, like Juan was saying, they do have a couple of losses coming up for the next game. The Dynamo are gaining, hopefully. Like I did say, McGlynn maybe doesn't support this team much, but he, like you said, he does bring a different tempo to the game, and also it gives you a in that midfield when we talked about Chache and Bosat, being the same guy basically playing in that midfield, maybe he could give you a different spark, or at least his vision is super. It's a lot better. So I guess I'm kind of going back on my maybe we didn't need him. But his vision is it is different. The dude knows how to. I mean, one of the things that he has is those long balls, and he can like literally give them to your chest. So hopefully, that does make a difference, and hopefully that does that. That tells people that yes, McGlynn could be a role player in this. Somebody told me this week that role player in basketball is an insult, and I was like, really? I was like, and I feel like in soccer, I don't feel like it is an insult.
It has a more positive connotation in soccer, I'd say.
I was like, super sub is an insult, but it's whatever. Neither here nor there.
Well, super sub, I guess, would be 6 men in basketball, wouldn't it be?
Exactly, 6 men is an insult. But yeah, going back to that, I think the Dynamo will beat Colorado home 2-1. So I think it's going to be, my divination is just kind of plain and simple. It's Colorado's first loss at home, given to them or handed to them by the Houston Dynamo. So 2-1. And then why not? We're going to say that Ponce will score his first goal. So he's going against Stefan, who's had a rough
goes for himself, man.
He's helping people out. So why not help a boy Ponce out for once. So
all right, Juan,
we'll go with that.
What are you thinking? What's your prediction for this game?
I think I've only been wrong once in terms of result predictions so far. So I'll say say a draw. Yeah, I'll say a draw. I think Houston will improve on certain aspects, but like y'all said, Colorado's been a tough team at home. Even with the 2 red cards, I do feel like Aronson can turn the game upside down. And considering our whole wing-back, fullback situation, I'm not entirely comfortable, especially after what Seattle just did to them or just did to Linger. So let's see if Ben Olsen doesn't make that mistake again. I'd say a nil. I'd say a 1-1 draw. I think someone on Houston gets on the score sheet this time around, but I do feel a silly mistake again will cost them.
Also, I don't want to keep going back to Seattle, but we have to remember Seattle is one of the best teams in the league, and it has been consistently one of the best teams in the league. And I mean, it shows, them playing Champions League and winning Champions League before, and then staying in the competition, and being one of the few MLS representatives in that side.
Yeah.
So 1-0 at home. I hate saying this. I hate saying like, oh, it's not a bad result. Anytime you lose is a bad result, but giving how the game kind of turned out to be, it could have been a 0-0 easily. They just kind of had one better chance, or one ball, and like you said, Rudy, one pass into the net that the Dynamo didn't. But I think that was obviously it. Kind of that's the
and it's a measuring stick. It has to be a measuring stick because the Dynamo have lost to like the best teams in the MLS for quite a few years. Yeah. And honestly, even group like the Dallas loss, it doesn't look as bad when you see Dallas, win over the weekend 4-0 against a very bad DC United team. Yeah. But that's the thing, when you're playing against bad teams, that's what you need, those results to go your way. You have to beat them.
You got to smack them.
And the Dynamos lost against LAFC, they lost against Seattle, and obviously against Dallas as well. So it's interesting. But guys, I know we don't want to go way over. I know last week we got almost a 2-hour show. We don't want to do that. Oof. But D2 it's gonna be playing, or they're back in business this weekend. To start for the month of March, Jeremy Hurdle and Pedro Cruz were both named.
Wow.
Cool stuff for them for sure. They did make a signing as well. They added Mamadi Gianna. Anything you want to add on him, Juan? Honestly, I
Looks
didn't.
familiar.
Let me see. Where's this kid from?
Where you from, kid? Gianna.
Thought I had it open. Let's see. I'll give you some information.
He looks so familiar.
So he got signed for the 2026 season with an option for 2027. He arrives after completing a productive senior year at Bryant University, where he started 20 of his 21 appearances during the 2025 campaign. Okay, so straight out of so he got signed straight from college, and he is a forward. Not that they need more forwards, but
we're gonna need some.
That is the position I feel like they don't need a whole lot of, but
they've done well. And again, they'll be playing this weekend. They'll be taking on a Texas rival. They'll be playing Austin FC 2, April 12th, that's a Sunday, 7:30 p.m. game, Palmer Field, and you can catch it on MLSNextPro.com. Should be a good one. Obviously the team has yet to concede a goal, they've been nothing but winning. The last thing that I'm sure they will like is to come back from a break and get beat or lose points to Austin. It's difficult to keep a perfect season, in such a long stretch of a schedule. But this starts, Juan, I know that you've there's been an in-depth article dropping tomorrow that I know you've been working on, but this starts their 10-game road trip as well, so that's important to note.
We won't be hearing from Hurdle in person for a while, I think, unless we catch him in some of the games on trip.
We're not gonna recognize him by the time we see him, man.
But I'm honestly really, I wouldn't say surprised by the results. So I do feel like Houston Dynamo too have had a lot of good players available these first few games, whatnot for injury, building players back up. Names that come to mind: Markinich, Weisner, Pedro Cruz. I think is also like a little level above. Felipe Andrade, you can't forgive him playing those first few games. But it's not just that; it's the way they've gone about it with the core of players they've had from before, which is something I'll touch on that article tomorrow. But I really like how they're playing. I feel like for the first time in a while, there's an identity that I feel will translate from those to the first level. It's very clear what they're trying to do here. They're trying to develop some fullbacks, right? Especially on the right that can push up. I mean, you might say it's a little late with Dorsey being gone and kind of that prototype being gone, but Betancourt is looking like a really, really good prospect on that right. And offensively, they're developing guys that can play all throughout the front line. I mean, Di Morelli, he's only 16. He plays incredible. Sousa is also someone that, if you look at the heat maps, he kind of rotates within positions. Markinich as well. I know he's a little older, but he's someone that does that. Jamani Bell is also somebody else who's been getting a good run of minutes. And I wouldn't say he's been great, but he is someone that's kind of breaking onto the scene. And and also Muhammad, he's also been getting onto the scene. He's playing really well. Yeah, Samir Muhammad. So there's a lot of players there that are playing in a lot of different positions. They're all rotating. And I think it's going to translate hopefully really well into the future for the first team, having so many versatile players here at Danados. And I'm really excited to see where they keep going this year.
One guy that you didn't mention, but Gilberto Rivera has been really good as well, and obviously an older college player. But to your point, I mean, the way that the Dynamo and the first team and the second team look, they play the same exact style. But the difference is these guys, a lot of the ones in Dynamo 2 have been playing together, and obviously coming from the academy the last few years, they know each other and stuff, but they're just able to finish off those opportunities. And, we know that, the first tier or the top tier of a league is different. Anybody can beat anybody, and you can expect to not concede a goal in the amount of games that they've played. But it's fun to watch, but it's fun because you are able to see, you're able to see more or less, the way that Ben Olsen wants his team to play, and it goes all the way down to the academy, which is important for sure.
I wouldn't say it's exactly the same though. I will be honest, like the way they line up, they start off with a different shape, more of like a 4-2-3-1. But even then, I feel like even when we've talked, and this is something I've wanted to talk about for a little bit, at least with how Ben Olsen has changed the system. I mean, it's still like a 3-2-2-3 at times anyways, or like I would say it's more fitting to say like a 3-2-5, right? Because if you're playing like a 3-4-3, all you have to do is push up your wing backs and then moving your wingers a little tighter, and you still have like that front five. So I guess that is the main similarity between the first team and the second team. They do end up getting to that 3-2-5 shape in possession, right? But I guess how they get there is a little different. But I guess that's just teaching them, different ways to go about it, because, I mean, you won't know who's the coach next year or the year after that. But I do feel like we're starting to see an inkling of an in-possession philosophy that extends not just from the first team, but starting to descend down to the second team and maybe to the academy, which I think is something really interesting that I suggest people pay attention to, because that could be the start of something great.
Yeah. And it's important. And one thing to note, and we're getting to the closing aspect of it, and obviously we'll come back next Monday and talk about the result in Colorado. We'll kind of touch a little bit on the game, U.S. Open Cup, midweek, and kind of get more into the realm of the team. But it is important to note that there's some players that are close to breaking into the first team when it comes to the academy, and that's good news for Houston as a whole. But one question that I did have was, where was Arana? Well, and I'll leave you guys, with that, because we didn't hear any reports of him being injured and how a player that can, when you're kind of missing a little bit of a guy to come from the bench in the first team, just didn't appear, man. But this has been fantastic episode. I hope that everybody listening enjoyed it. Cristian Putalias, any final thoughts you may have, brother?
Wasn't he with the national team?
I was about to say he might be.
Yeah. Okay. I was just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking. No. Do you want me to go to what I wrote, or
whatever. Okay. We're done here, man. This has been a good show. Thanks, Juan, for joining us. Of course, you're more than welcome to join us anytime. Hit us with this. He's doing the Spider-Man thing. Yeah.
Did you do?
I meant to do this, but then
I saw the Spider-Man. I was like, all right.
I saw this. I was like, what?
No, I was not doing that, Chris.
Yeah, but Chris, you mentioned you may have something. I know that we always talk about, this show is the time for us to hang out, talk, as the people recording, but obviously the people on the group chat as well. And the Bayou Banter, and whoever listens, right? Whether you're listening live right now, whether you catch the recording tomorrow. And you know what? Let me do the housekeeping, and then you can close it out, I guess, at this point. But obviously, feel free as you listen to the show and you get to know us, follow our social medias. Basically, we're everywhere under Bayou City Soccer. Make sure to follow us, subscribe, hit a like, retweet, whatever helps us. Jay already took out the trash, so trash duty is out today. But someone texted me on Thursday. Yeah, I know somebody will remember. But yeah, be a part of the group, be a part of the community. I think we had a lot of fun this past weekend on the Bayou City Soccer Discord, and everybody kind of getting their thoughts as the match was happening. This one will be an away match, so maybe we'll be even more active in that group chat and getting everybody's kind of vibe. But yeah, obviously follow our friends at Elotes Bravos. Go check them out at the stadium. Obviously, they do have a place in Homestead. And then definitely go check out Unisports at the 2 locations. We do have a code that you can use, Bayou City 10 for a 10% discount towards your purchase. And Ugly Guppy does a good job and with everything support. I know Juan's the only one currently repping something that Ugly Guppy made for us, which is a hat that a lot of people want, and we need to get more hats to give away. But yeah, absolutely, this has been a good time. But yeah, Christian, the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, so in this, we're all striving to get better, and we're all striving to just kind of continue, right? So if you're running out there, we're a bunch of us are on the Strava app, so go ahead and just find us, and then we'll keep up with each other in the whole running, trying to get physically better. But just a little message, as we also try to get mentally better, right? We all read books or read stuff. I picked up a new book. I actually went to Austin this week for a wedding, and we hit up the local thrift shop. And I saw his book and I was like, it seems interesting because, a guy that changed kind of like the sports, kind of world in a sense, right? Nike being one of the people that kind of produced the best gear. We know same with Adidas and stuff like that. And I just read the introduction of the book, but I thought there was a little thing, and I thought it would be cool to kind of share with everybody because it talks about, moving forward and creating stuff and just kind of, so I'm going to read this little thing and hopefully you guys, it hits you as much as it hit me. I know it's probably not crazy, but I think it's cool. So it says, so that morning in 1962, I told myself, let everyone else call your idea crazy. Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't even think about stopping until you get there. And don't give much thought to where there is. Whatever comes, just don't stop. So the dude, he didn't know where he was going, what he wanted to do, but he had an idea and then he just ran with it, literally. And I think it's a good reminder for us that we're dreamers. Like Juan, he's studying to start a career. We're a little bit older, so maybe we have different careers or different idea paths. But I think at the end of the day, we're all dreamers. We all have ideas. We all are meant to create. We were created to create, I believe. And I think it's one of the things that we can never forget. We just continue to create and just don't stop, man. Whatever, it's in your heart, just keep going and just remember that there's always something there or someone there that will love your idea and will buy into your idea and will push you to keep going. So just don't stop. Wherever there is, doesn't matter. Just keep going. Don't stop.
I like it, man. Yeah. Always
love that.
If you want it positive, Jay Hurtado, there you go. You got a little bit positive. We'll close the show again. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it as much as we do. Before I get to sleep, yeah, definitely, man. Go get some sleep. And just a quick shout out, happy birthday to Billy. You guys know who he is. I think it's important to just keep his memory alive when we can. And something Christian has mentioned before. Don't be afraid if you're struggling with something, man. Reach out to people. We're here for you. This 3 people. We're not perfect. We don't know all the answers, man. But if you need a leaning ear, we're here, man. And Chris, they want you for Presidente en Boca, so you may be able to move things around.
Let's do it.
But guys, thanks again for joining us. Hope you have a fantastic night. We'll catch you on the flippity flip.
Libertadores tomorrow. Let's go.
Peace. Adiós. Nos vemos.
Chao.